Morning, everyone. Welcome. This is Joe Scarice, host and founder of the Creative Birth Strategy podcast and house here on Clubhouse every Saturday morning, 8 a.m., every Sunday morning, 9:30 a.m. We'll get started here in just a few minutes and get ourselves set up. We always try to provide a consistent theme of education, networking, and opportunities. We're also a very unique house here on Clubhouse where we provide national events as well as workshops regionally, locally, and nationally. We also provide our podcast, which is at creativebirthstrategies.com, which is another great source of education. We're now in the double digits of episodes. And I'm really excited about it. I think we're at like 15 episodes, and we have sponsors. I want to thank our sponsors. I always love to thank our key sponsor, Perkatech with Yordell Perkins, our social media strategist. Definitely somebody that you want to connect with and discuss your social media strategy, your brand, your website. Realty 411 with Linda Pelagas, who provides national events in collaboration with Creative Birth Strategies. Abstract National, your nationwide direct private lender, and MD Capital, your unsecured business line of credit specialist in building out your credit and through your LLC. Also, Lendmark, your capital group of asset-based lending nationwide, providing insight and strategy on asset-based lending for the investor throughout the country. So today's discussion, and Joe, do you mind miking for a minute? Thanks. Today's discussion is a very important discussion, which I just wrote an article on. Building your real estate, real estate investors building out your power team for investor strategies. And I want to apologize. My voice is still recovering from a lot of speaking engagements this week. I'm here in rainy New Jersey, and sorry if my voice is a little froggy, but I want to keep going on with our podcast. I didn't want to miss it. So I want to thank everybody for staying so engaged. And I'll invite some individuals up as well, so get some things going here. So, building your real estate power team as a real estate investor, some strategies. Building a strong real estate power team is crucial for success as a real estate investor. Here are some strategies that you should assemble the right professionals. One, identify your needs. Determine what expertise you require for your specific real estate investment goals. Two, network. Attend local real estate investor meetings, join online forums, and participate in networking events to connect with professionals in the industry. And I'd like to point something out. I don't even talk about it that much, but I have a Facebook group that has close to 40,000 real estate investors that's extremely vetted. It's called Off-Market Real Estate Deals, and I get a lot of business from it, actually. And that's a whole nother spectrum of opportunity. Research and interview. Once you identify the right potential team members, conduct thorough research on their backgrounds, experience, reputation. Real estate agents. A knowledgeable and responsive real estate agent can help you identify good investment opportunities, off-market, negotiate deals. Property managers. If you're investing in rental properties, a competent property manager can handle day-to-day operations, tenant screening, rent collection, maintenance issues, and also maybe identify off-market deals. Good contractors and handymen. Establish relationships with reliable contractors and handymen who can handle renovations, repairs, and maintenance work. Legal and financial advisors, consulting with lawyers specializing in real estate law to ensure your transactions are legally sound and to protect your interests. Mentors and coaches. Seek guidance from experienced real estate investors who can provide valuable insight, advice, and support. Continuing education. I'm a big fan. We're now providing CE education through the Creative Birth Strategy portal. So we're providing that for licensed real estate agents. Communication and collaboration. Evaluate and adjust. By following some of these strategies, you're assembling knowledgeable, reliable, and collaborative real estate power team. You can enhance your chances of success and achieve your investment goals. I'd like to also point out our Creative Birth Strategies podcast link is right above. So if you want to download any of our podcasts, I would greatly appreciate that. And you could also get our replays here on Clubhouse. So let's go into some of the news as well, which I think is always important and it relates to what's going on in our market. Listen, our rates have been fluctuating around 7 to 7.25 over the past several weeks. Inflation is still a bumpy path. Okay, I don't think it's going to really stabilize for a little while. Probably not for this year at least. Also, I think job reports are there's some issues there as well as the financial sector has some serious risks. And I think there's some great articles that I've posted this past week in through Mortgage News Daily that I've posted, whether it's US News or Housing Wire or CNBC. There's some good articles out there really explaining why the rates are what they are. You really need to understand what's going on and why the rates are where they're at, why the market is so tight, but there's yet still opportunities for the investor. I personally think we're in an investor buying market right now. That's my personal opinion. I don't foresee a seller's market for the home buyer this spring at all. I think we have a very stagnant market. I think there's a unique opportunity to take advantage of very high home buyer sentiment. The only reason somebody's buying a home right now is out of necessity. Good morning, Joseph, and welcome. Brief overview, who you are, what you do, and let's get a little insight and update to your newest acquisition and your thoughts to real estate investors building relationships with a power team.
Good morning, Joe, and as always, thank you for having this rooms. The education is always valuable, regardless of you never know how much you don't know until you get into one of these rooms, and whether it's the entire topic or a snippet of the topic that you learn from. I'm a buy and hold investor. I now have 6 rentals, to include one out of state, that I own and manage. And I also invest in tax liens and do a little bit of private lending here and there. You know, listen, going on to the topic, not to talk about me, right? Going on to the topic, you know, a lot of people call it about a power team, and they have a lot of labels. Oh, have your team, have your power team, and then they call it all sorts of other things and who fits in there. But you know, you and I have talked, and I've talked with several other investors, and some people just get it, right? This is a relationship business, and I would argue that your residents or your tenants are on your power team as well, right? They're the customers that you're serving, right? I look at them as customers, and if you treat them right, they're going to take care of you and take care of your property, right? There's always exceptions to the rule, but if you treat people the way you want to be treated, they're going to take care of you just as well. So it's just common courtesy, right? And you know, when you go into an event, like you go into a RIA, you know, as an investor, and they're talking about a specific topic, it doesn't end when that speaker stops speaking or stops answering questions. The real conversations happen. You know, in business, they say it happens on the golf course, right? The real conversations with the investors happens afterwards. You know, talk to the group of people who are staying after, right? If there's a bar that they go to the bar. You know, don't just plan your day. Hey, there's a 2-hour talk on RIA, and I'm out. You know, if there's an opportunity to grab dinner with someone, grab dinner. I mean, that's how you and I built the relationship, right? And you know, while I don't like to publicly admit it, right? It's too late. The cat's out of that bag. But that's how you and I built that relationship. And I feel that when you break bread with somebody, it just puts a little bit more depth to your relationship with them. And it doesn't matter where they are in the country, right? It could be anywhere, and it's not necessarily a realtor or a broker. It's a fellow real estate investor where you're going through a tough time, and you just need to talk to someone about your issue, and they can give you an a non-emotional response to what you're going through, or a different thought process to it that'll help you get out of the jam that you think is so big that you've been in, that you're going through. So, you know, Joe, you know, I use a lot of those methods both in my real estate and professional life, right? Bouncing ideas off of you, and other people that I associate with that have given me other ideas, and they also provide you the perseverance to help you go through challenging times, because there will always be challenging times. Nothing's peaches and cream, right? There'll always be challenging times, and the network that you build and the relationships that you develop will help you get through them.
You know, Joe, you brought up a couple points. One, I have pure evidence that you hang out with me. I have pictures. So I just want to make sure you are aware of that. But stay on mic for a minute. I'm having these deeper discussions with clients right now, and it's unusual because being in being once in the traditional lending landscape and now being in the landscape of asset-based lending, it's a much more creative discussion. I'm having deeper discussions. What type of prepayment? What type of leverage? What type of rate I want to be at? What type of cash flow am I looking at from a cash on cash return? Am I okay breaking even and not taking money out? I think that the savvier borrowers asking those questions are not just going, and I have nothing against bigger pockets and a lot of these other sites. Cash out, take everything out of it. Don't worry about debt service. Just have all your money back plus an extra 25 grand. Don't think about the long term of the asset. I think there's a much more detailed equation put to evaluating a property. What's your thoughts on that when you're having these later evening chats with individuals, real estate investors, especially also at your subgroup meeting? Like, what type of in-depth conversations are you having now that you haven't felt that were around a year ago, 2 years ago, with the newer or more experienced investor?
Yeah. So, you know, case in point, we just had in our RIA, right, in the main meeting, we had about rehabs, right? And you had two people who flip were at their rehabs, and they're giving you cost and on what things cost to repair and how you should budget. But at the end of the day, those are never the real numbers. No one's ever, and I shouldn't say ever, right? Because you never say never, but no one really gives you the real story when they're out in front of 70, 80 people, right? They're never going to tell you their true personal business when they're out there unless you're having that intimate conversation. Um, and when you have that one-on-one with that individual or just a group of people, people tend to be a little bit more honest, whether it's uh, sharing specific numbers, sharing their contacts, right, with the people who do the repairs for the cheaper cost, um, or what have you. So there's a lot of benefit to building those relationships because, again, as you build those relationships, people are willing to share more, right? I know that I send people to you because you're going to take care of them, right? And I sent a professional acquaintance to you that he's an attorney that I work with, and if I didn't build that relationship or have any trust through Clubhouse with you, and then eventually a friendship, I wouldn't have sent that to you because it's my reputation on the line. So you start getting those referrals, and you're going to put them in your quote unquote power team, but you're gonna also those people are going to become valuable to you down the road because you help them out, and you help them out with someone that you trust. So, I mean, the after-hour conversations, yeah, they become more intimately involved as people share more in-depth knowledge and information about their experiences. I go into specific numbers. I'll pull out my OneNote and show them how I work the numbers specifically on my properties. I won't do that publicly. I won't do that in front of 70 or 80 people. But if one person comes up and has a genuine conversation and the opportunity presents itself and they're really asking questions that I can show them how it works, I most certainly will on a one-on-one.
Joe, thank you for that introduction to John. Really nice meeting with him and talking with him. But you know what? That like you were like, hey, didn't you give terms to the guy yet? I'm like, no, because that took a little extra review and an exception because yeah, the property looks beautiful, great location. I mean, everybody wants to own a property like this one day, right? But I had to really dig into the debt service coverage ratio of that project. Okay, really dig in. I came back that the only way to do that loan was at 50% LTV. Okay, I presented the three options, broke it all down for John, and guess what? He appreciated it. He goes, you know what? I want to look at this because now I don't have to have all my money in, though I can buy it with all my own money. I can leverage it, allow the property to appreciate or readjust some of the income. But he at least saw at 50% LTV what that property could support in a lending landscape. And I think he appreciated that. He did respond back and forth. I left you off of that, Joe, but I had to get an exception. But it's an exceptionally beautiful property. I'd love to have that in my balance sheet but I took a little extra time, and I do that for all my clients because sometimes a little extra time is not that it's not we're not liking the deal. We're making sure that we're providing the right option for them. So when they bring their power team in, it's sustaining itself in a good debt. It's making money, it's cash flowing. Some additional thoughts, Joe, before we continue?
Yeah. So, not to get into his personal business, right? But this guy is not a newbie, right?
Yeah,
You've seen his data tape, right?
exactly.
He has significantly valued properties in multi-million-dollar valuation, right? And his he and I talked, and again, I developed a relationship through my professional life, but then again through real estate because we talked. And he said, "Oh, what do you do outside of work?" And I said, "I invest in real estate." He goes, "Oh, me too. Let's do lunch," and we became friends. And then his products that he was getting from commercial banks were the 5 year adjustable loans, right? Every 5 years they reset, and he was worried about the mortgage rates. And then you were able to give him a product. I'm presuming it was fixed, right?
Yeah,
Because you
it was
advertised,
fixed. Yep.
and that blew his mind. So from going 100% cash on a multi-million-dollar property to now using leverage, whatever it was, 80% LTV or whatever it is, he's now going to have cash to go get a leverage another property. And I think I started talking to him about the cash on cash theory. I play in a smaller arena than him, but I was able to give him the cash on cash process. And again, this is a guy that's much more educated than I. I barely graduated high school, and this is an attorney, right? So I mean, I was able to explain to him how I do everything and show him the power of leverage, which I'm sure you reinforced and opened his eyes to, especially on a fixed rate, and showed him that there's other products out there. So forget about a customer base. What kind of relationship did you and I build with that gentleman,
Yeah, I
right?
mean, and exactly. I mean, listen, I was able to provide a very specific opportunity. Now he has to look at his team. Can his team support that debt stack? And can he take the money and make sense of it? It's a beautiful property. I would love to live there. You know what I mean? That's how beautiful it is. But yeah, listen, I always appreciate those type of introductions and handoffs, Joe, are very important. Now, I know you're a fan of the Real Estate Investors Association, but has there been investor groups out there that you've seen that you've attended as well that are not REIT related that have made impact in your opportunities building out a real estate team and assuring starting that team is all set up for the right reason?
Yeah, there's one specifically that I can think of right now is they don't call them a RIA, they call them their RIG,
Yeah, yeah.
Real Estate Investors Group,
Yep.
and you joined to me at one, and it's a non-membership. Uh, there's no cost of membership. It's just a group of guys and gals that get together and go grab beer, and they have a little bit of topics here and there that they talk about, but they're less formal. It's more of grabbing a beer, and I've met a building engineer that does inspections for me there, uh, and I met Marcus, who is also, I don't know if he's on here, but I mean, he and I built our relationship at the group, and then we happened to be RIA members.
Yeah.
Right. And then I also go to Big, the Black Investors Group here locally that
Yeah.
you go to as well now.
Yeah.
And became a board member. But I mean, and you develop those relationships. Sometimes these groups where people don't pay it does, and sometimes they're great. I mean, it's month by month based on the same thing at RIAs. Sometimes the topics are good and sometimes they suck.
Yeah.
But I mean, you look at there's opportunity to build a relationship no matter where you go, whether it's in a real estate investor specific group or it's at home or at work. You just tell someone that you're involved in real estate investing and they are, and the next thing you know, you're hitting it off. You may be in different professions and you may not intend to do business with each other, but eventually down the road you might.
Yeah. I agree with you. I mean, listen, I ran 5 subgroups for a real estate investors group at one point, and it was good. I can't really say I identified a lot of business from it. I also ran my own breakfast. The best thing I got out of the breakfast every Friday morning was Yardell Perkins from Perkatech. We're now, friends, business associates. We're affiliates on this podcast. So something really came from that. And I'll just use an example. This past week, I went to 4 or 5 different events, and there's a very unique movement right now, Joe. I don't know if you're aware of it, but Pace Morby is creating this community, the sub 2 community, where they're having these miniature small group meetings. I spoke recently at a Pace Morby event on Wednesday before I went to a best ever meeting. Wow. The depth chart of team in that room, there were about 25 people there, but it was extremely powerful. People were very engaged. They understood what they were trying to accomplish there. And there was this like synergy. Everybody was like, I was getting everybody involved in the room. And then Thursday night, I had a great speaking engagement for a small private group, about 15 people, but it was extremely engaged. It went for a solid hour. I didn't even realize an hour went by. Um, but it tells you, how do you build your real estate team? You got to make sure you're starting a team for the right reasons, right? You got to understand everybody's roles and responsibilities, like Joe has said. You got to plan that team structure. You got to also organize your own systems to make it work. You got to create a strategy of recruiting the right people to be around you. You got to onboard for success. You got to get to know your team, have dinner with them, hang out with them, have a drink with them, get to know them. Like, I'm asking more people to go out and grab a cup of coffee or grab lunch. It goes a lot further. I mean, even if it's somebody out of state, I will fly in or I'll take the train up. I have no problem doing that to meet with a group of people if they're serious, right? Hold your team accountable. And I know, Joe, you're a big fan of this, and keep building a culture of success around them. So, final thoughts, Joe, before we go to other moderators?
No, I can't say it any better than you, right? Just keep your eyes and ears open and always look for those opportunities to build those relationships, and then that'll build your business on top of it.
Yep. Another one last thing. I did a speaking engagement for the South Jersey REIA, understanding asset-based lending, and I had a follow-up coffee meeting with one of the clients, and I knew of a deal that he was working on, and it didn't go through, and nobody was honest to him why. And I was extremely crystal clear with my honesty with him. He's like, Joe, he goes, why didn't somebody just explain that to me up front? I said, well, they wanted to satisfy your motivation, but right now you got to take some steps here to do some local opportunities for yourself to be that real estate professional, to be that real estate investor. And he really appreciated. I got him set up with a couple people that I felt that would be good to add to his power team. He texted me like a day later, thanked me, and we're going to work together in tandem. And that was just an honest coffee chat. So, have an honest coffee chat with your power team. You know, sit down with them once in a while and try to understand what they're trying to accomplish. Maybe there's not a deal at hand right in front of them, but the discussion of the opportunity of working together and making money together is very important, right? I mean, I don't charge for my time. I make money when I close. So my physical accomplishments and successes are based on closings, not based on conversation. But having these conversations of strategy and pivot and growth and understanding the one's portfolio is extremely important in the power team. And everybody in that team should understand that. They should be intimately involved with your growth. Thank you, Joe. And then we'll move on to our other moderators. This is the Creative Birth Strategies podcast and house here on Clubhouse. We always want to thank Clubhouse for the opportunities that they have provided to us in creating such a community for us with podcasts, with events, with educational tools for our listeners, follow-up discussions, building out your power team with education, networking, and hopefully with a high level of integrity. Good morning, James, and welcome. Brief overview, who you are, what you do, and thoughts to our discussion this morning. Real estate investors building relationships with a power team, and great seeing you Thursday night.
Morning all, James down here. I'm a fix and flip investor from Berks County, and still looking for more projects. Dabbling in the private money space like others have talked about, and really enjoying that. As far as power team, I guess I'm in this spot. I'm still building the power team, and my experience has been, I don't know, I hear over and over, different podcasts and in Clubhouse, people talking about, oh, you got to go to these meetups, you got to meet all these people, and yada yada. and I knew I needed to learn more about, the investing business. And I've been doing this, studying it, and becoming involved, I guess, in the last couple years. And after being out there a couple nights a week for like a year, I'm going, man, am I wasting my time? Is this, I was feeling, I don't know, I didn't see it getting anywhere. But it wasn't soon much after that I'm kind of working on a deal or thinking about its strategy on the deal. And somebody's name just popped into my head, like, hey, that's right, this guy did this same thing. I need to talk to them about it. Or, and that just started to happen after being around and talking to people, where I never would have thought. This one of the things just kind of happened organically, and you wouldn't think it would. And it just takes time. Time takes time to get relationships with people. And I tell you, just it really does seem like if I'm looking for advice on a property, or on, what is this town like? What is that town like? Or things like that. Just by meeting somebody a couple times at a meeting, they'll talk to you when they probably wouldn't have before.
Yeah.
That's the best way I could say it. And even talking to folks with lenders and whatnot, they don't know anything more about me except seeing me around. But now I have a better conversation than just walking off the street, because they've been around me some. So I think that's like so valuable.
So James, what did you? I mean, we saw each other Thursday night. We had a pretty widespread of experience in the room. There was a couple individuals that we were kind of like I don't know whether we were bumping and grinding on some thought patterns, but by the end, I thought there was a very mutual respect level of experience, because like what they do in identifying deals, I would never do, and nor do I have the experience of. But I recognized that, and I admitted that I was inexperienced in that area of how they acquired that property, and I think we kind of evened out our conversation. But I made it very clear I'm not their CPA, I'm not their attorney, and don't sue me. How you're structuring that deal might not get you financing, and I think they respected that to a point. They might not have liked it, and listen, I'm not always perfect here, man. Like I make mistakes just like anybody else, okay? But I make more successes from the mistakes I've made in the past because I'm extremely transactional. So, what was your thoughts about the room based on the conversation we were having Thursday night? What was your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I think I remember who you're talking about. They
Yeah.
do things in a different way that I've heard anybody else doing. I think the tax liens is something that they deal with.
Yeah.
That I'm interested in learning about. And they've also acquired property through this process of quiet title that I'm interested in finding out more about.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I met them speaking at other engagements. And again, it's another person on the power team. And I feel like just meeting and talking with them, I have their number, and I feel like I could call them and ask them stuff. And the guy was, because I'm having trouble in my mind making buy and hold deals pencil around here.
Yeah.
For what I'm working at, and he offered to go through a project with me, and I'm going to take him up on it.
Well, what I did was extend an invite to make introduction for them to have a speaking opportunities at some of the RIA groups that I'm colleagues with a lot of the group leaders, because I thought they came across with some unique ideas. I mean, some of the stuff, how they wanted to structure LLCs were a little funky, but I think helped them understand why. They might not like it, you know what I mean? But from a lending perspective, I know people want to stay very layered and protected, but somebody has to step up and be the guarantor to the deal. You know what I mean? And I think they understood that eventually. You know what I mean?
I'm also interested in. I think there's a sub-2 group in King of Prussia. Is that
Yeah.
the one you went to?
Yeah, I went to the one in Philadelphia, and I'm going to go to the one in King of Prussia. Listen, I'm willing to sponsor those type of events because I have to just say, wow. I mean, they were very engaged. It was definitely not a RIA setup. And listen, listen. I've had several presidents of various RIAs call me and say, "Hey, Joe, what are we doing wrong? What are we doing with the subject matter?" I said, "Listen, just look at the subject matter we're having on on Clubhouse every Saturday and Sunday. We're doing different discussions. The meetings don't have to be the traditional speaker up front and and just like pour into a subject for 45 minutes to bore people's eyes out. You could have mastermind discussions like what we're doing here. There's five of us up here. Anybody's more than welcome to raise their hand and come up, right? And jump in. It's a subject of discussion, right? And you walk away with hopefully a nugget of insight to understanding how to have relationships, building out, a power team as a real estate investor. I mean, what's more important than that? Who should be in your power team, right? Right? Don't you think that's a great subject to discuss with 25 to 30 like-minded investors? Like next week, I'm doing a subject on real estate investor mindset and some strategies and discussion to that. That's not typically an asset-based lender's discussion, but I am always trying to identify my things to push myself to get in front of people in a more masterminding and more intimate, more personal discussion. Like who should be in your power team? What type of real estate investor mindset? And the subgroup leaders of these groups need to step up, or the individuals that are creating these events need to step up and create a mastermind environment. Because I think what Clubhouse has done for me, at least, is allowed me to come up and be creative in subject matter to not always talk about what I do. Sometimes I completely forget about what to tell anybody, by the way, I'm a lender, right? But who should be in your power team? Number one, an accountant or CPA that gets it. Two, an appraiser to bounce off values and rental values. Attorneys, whether it's for litigation, whether it's for structuring the LLC, whether it's for leasing, whether it's for eviction, and it might not be all the same attorney. Good GCs, right? Handyman, a good title company, an escrow officer that knows what they're doing with getting title cleared. Handyman and tradesmen, a good hard money lender, an insurance agent that understands commercial to residential insurance opportunities, a mortgage lender, right? Private money lender. I see. So now, there's the hard money lender, there's the traditional lender, and then there's the direct private lender. I've gotten out of the traditional lending space, and I'm obviously a direct private lender and a hard money lender. I refer. I mean, I am licensed. I can do a traditional loan. It's not my passion, but I've had the benefit of being in all three lanes and in all three lanes. A good property management company, good real estate agents, and they're hard to come by because you know what? There's a lot of agents, and not a lot of them really understand what a good deal is. Someone with a buyer's list, such as a great wholesaler, a good wholesaler, or a couple good wholesalers, are going to be very important. Build classic methods work best here. You know what I mean? The absolute best place to find a power team member is through referrals, networking, a brand new and professional that's never met or introduced to you by someone you already trust that lends a lot of credibility to their character. And networking events or educational events allow you to meet many professionals at once. Good morning, Melissa. Welcome. Brief overview, who you are, what you do, and thoughts to our discussion this morning. Real estate investors building relationships with a power team.
Hey, good morning, Joe. Let's give you a little break on your voice there real quick. This is Melissa King, One Last Night LLC virtual assistant. I am a realty bookkeeping and admin professional here in West Michigan, also a licensed real estate referral agent and notary. Great topic today, building relationships. I can't tell you how valuable Clubhouse, as well as my local RIA meetings, breakfast meetings, and Monday night meetings have been to me in the last couple of years. Once I got out of my basement office and started getting out more, it definitely has expanded my knowledge, not just as a person who is providing service, but also as an aspiring real estate investor. Learning so much, absolutely. And I'm really looking forward to seeing you guys, especially Linda, next weekend in Denver, because our RIA is having some issues. And I could really use some advice to take back to those that be. As part of today's discussion, I do want to mention I am a part of many of those power teams. A good bookkeeper can help you, and they're also cheaper than perhaps the CPA's bookkeeping. So that's why a lot of people do come to me. Also, because I have a real estate background and banking background. So I'm pretty detail oriented, which obviously helps them to make their decisions when we're inputting income and expenses and going over their statements every month. My current business is all referrals. So I cannot stress enough networking, people. Even if it's not in real estate, I just joined some local business networking. And that's already got me some referrals. Really good people. And I do want to remind people that you have to operate with integrity. Treat others the way you want to be treated. Do good, be good, help people, and it will come back to you. I mean, 100-fold. Your reputation is gold. And if you don't have a good reputation, you're not going to make it in any networking. Thanks, Joe.
Thank you, Melissa. Yeah, I really feel a lot of these RIAs are going through the same routines. They're having some struggles, and they're not attracting the younger investor. The younger investor doesn't feel comfortable coming to an event where everybody's, older, they're kind of set in their methods. They want creativity. They want insight to what's really going on. They want expertise in the local markets. Like, why aren't these local RIAs having really true experts in their local markets? Why are they bringing these national speakers in that are just not, they come in, they sell a package and they leave, right? It just doesn't work after a while. You need skilled individuals in their space, in their industry space, that are going to be able to provide guidance financially, emotionally, physically, from a power team perspective. How do you identify responsible team members from afar? Like if you're going to be an out-of-state landlord or even a long distance, join online communities. Go to zoning meetings in those local areas. Like, when's the last time you've gone to a zoning meeting in an area where you're buying properties? Tap into the local investing communities. A great investing community online is Meetup. You could find all kinds of events in Meetup in a very local area based on, within 25 miles to what you're looking for. Drive down and make personal connections in these areas, right? Right. If you're buying in an area that you don't live in and you're 45 minutes away, you got to know that community. You got to know what's going on. Go to a council meeting, go to a chamber of commerce meeting in that area. Get to meet just the local talent. Utilizing professional networks. Obviously asking for recommendations and referrals. Evaluate online presence. I always, this is, I don't understand why no more people don't do this. I always look up everybody on LinkedIn. I don't care about Facebook. I care about where you are or who you are on LinkedIn. Nothing should be hidden in LinkedIn. If you go to my LinkedIn profile, guess what? There's my picture. There's my resume. That's who I am. I'd be amazed if I could find half of you guys on LinkedIn with a full completed resume. That is the backbone to being a true real estate professional, is having a proper set up, filled out who you are, what your why is, and where on LinkedIn. So if you want to learn one thing walking away today, your LinkedIn should be 110% ready to go and rock and roll. These are very critical and crucial things to have in place to attract a karma-like atmosphere of a power team. I shit you not, excuse my French. This works. I've made better connections and better referrals through LinkedIn. I mean, I've done really well on Facebook. I mean, don't get me wrong, I have 3 Facebook profiles. I have probably 8,000, 9,000 people follow me on each one, and I thank them. But I really feel my resume on LinkedIn supports the drive that I have. Go ahead, Joe. You have something to say?
No, I unmiked by accident. I'm sorry.
It's okay. So, I mean, please, if you really want to have a solid resume to attract the right people, I always say, everybody, please connect with me on LinkedIn. I mean, Facebook's nice, but I really want you to follow me on LinkedIn. I put great articles out there. I'm always posting good information. I do post some of the relevant information on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and all the other social media buckets. But LinkedIn is where I put a lot of my content about who I am and who I represent. People. I want people to understand where I am in regards to where I should be part of their power team. And I get more requests to make introductions to others because of my resume. Hey, do you have somebody that can set me up with an LLC structuring? Do you have somebody that can set me up with an agent in that market? Hey, where do you think I should go to identify opportunities in that neighborhood? Right? I try to help put the light bulb on. That's what you want to be. You want to be that connection. Okay. You want to be that source. What I'm also leveraging now, and this is everybody here that's a licensed real estate agent. You should all look into providing a CE course of something that you have passion about, right? If anybody's interested in creating a CE course or being certified in a CE course to give back to the agents, one, to build out your profile, build out your brand, being a source, being a connection, privately reach out to me. I could set you up with a company that allowed me to write this class and course that I'm being certified in nationwide. So if there's an area that you're a licensed agent or you're a mortgage lender or title agent and you want to get approved for a CE course to be able to provide so you can create your own community, let me know and I'll put you in touch with the group that set me up for my CE accreditation on asset-based lending. That will get you in front of more people than you could ever imagine. You also don't need to be licensed to teach a CE course. Okay, so you could talk to this group about getting approved for a CE course and just be a real estate professional. But it makes a lot more sense if you're a licensed professional, and you obviously want to get approved in that subject in the state that you're focusing in that or states. For me, I do loans in all 50 states, so I want to be able to teach this course in all 50 states because I want to be part of many power teams, right? Justin, good morning. Thank you for coming in this morning. Brief overview, who you are, what you do, and thoughts to our discussion this morning. Real estate investors building relationships with a power team.
Yeah, good morning, Joe. I don't know how loud it is around me, but I'll try to keep the volume down and speak real clearly so y'all can understand me. Actually, I'm gonna go ahead and pull over. I'm pulling up, coming up on a parking lot. But I'm Justin Jefferson. I'm in the Louisiana market. Been in the Burst Strategies Club pretty much since its inception. Learned a lot here, and this has been a really good source for me to network, keep my mind in the right place, right? Because I feel like this room, since its beginning, has been very intentional and very focus based. And regardless of how you feel about this industry, it's a very serious one, and it's one where you have to be on a clear track to arrive at a real destination, right? And so earlier, Joe was talking about the RIAs and maybe catering to a younger crowd and so on and so forth. But I want to just nudge against that a little bit because I feel like part of one of the things that's been good and bad for the whole industry in real estate is just advertising the industry as an open door for all attitudes, and I think that's misleading. I saw someone encouraging. I saw a developer, right? And yeah, we might need some builders and developers, but I saw a developer encouraging, and don't get offended by this, right? Encouraging certain professionals just to try to sign up and become developers because they sell homes or do other sorts of deals. But in my experience, I feel like if I would encourage anyone to take a transition from where they're at to developer, and this is just for example, right? There are a couple of things you need to be aware of. right? That cause developments to fail. So just understanding what you're asking for when you go to the RIA, know what you're asking for. And what I was getting at was this, right? If I'm looking out here in this world and I'm a developer, so I know what it takes to achieve one of these deals, I think I would reach out to architects to step into this lane. I would reach out to engineers to step into the lane. I would reach out to general contractors to step into this lane. Why? Because they're already doing it. Though that should be your first line. Those three people already have established, right, the type of mindset and work ethic that's required to execute said deals. And so that's an example, right? And what my point was being intentional with making this whole industry better, right? Education, connecting with people, building your power team, and all of those things come from putting yourself out there and also making sure you're consistently educating yourself to keep up with the industry because it's constantly changing. And I think it's changing faster now than it's surely in my little over a decade. It's changing faster now than it ever has. So just kind of be intentional. And another thing, I was the youngest, the only guy below 25 in the rear rooms in the beginning. And I was there because I wanted to be there. Like I knew may not be fun. And I knew I wasn't there to get drinks, right? I wasn't there to play. I was there to get boring information with my notepad, ask serious questions, and get somewhere in life. And I knew what I was doing was not an average thing. So I didn't expect to be operating on a mediocre or a play type of level. I could play when I left there. And so that's my point. I think we have to really realize how serious putting roofs over people's heads and buildings over people is. And I don't shy away from that when encouraging and guiding people on where they should get their information on how they should grow. But those are just my 2 cents this morning, Joe.
Justin, thank you as always. Justin's been a great colleague and associate to bounce stuff off of, and we chat every once in a while. We'll Instagram one another as well, play some jokes and stuff like that. But when it's pucker time, we know when we have to have a serious conversation and we engage in very specific discussion. We definitely get down to the nitty-gritty. You obviously have to, the bottom line is that if you want to succeed faster with less risk, you better have someone or some people that you can call on for knowledge, for that insight. Some ideas I want you to think about. Creating at least a 5-year plan of what you want to accomplish with your real estate goals. Year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5. Make them realistic. Don't make them unrealistic. Make them realistic. Year 1 is understanding your financial platform, right? Understand your LLC structuring, understand your cash reserves or what they really are. Okay. Understand who you are. What do you own? What do you have? Are the properties you own right now cash flowing? Okay. Have somebody underwrite them for you to make sure they're solid. Next, you really need to start identifying that power team. Identifying those real estate strategists to be in your circle. Then 3, you want to make sure you feel comfortable with each one of them. And of course, you can always find your own as well. You could always get more. There's endless amount of people that want to be in the real estate space, right? Identifying areas that make sense for you to invest in based on the market conditions at the time of your investment. Next, you got to really talk to a tax professional, understanding, what they need to understand what you're doing, setting up the entity structure correctly. Having your liability questions in place and talking to a good real estate attorney, he or she should be on the same page as your tax professional. Remember, one protects your tax dollars while the other wants to protect your assets. So make sure they both communicate in an optimum structure setup. These are very important factors. Steve, good morning. Welcome. Brief overview, who you are, what you do, and thoughts to the discussion. Real estate investors building relationships with a power team.
Good morning, Joseph. Steven Lentz here from the Bay Area, up Water Creek, East Bay. Been in those clubhouse apps kind of started in the pandemic era. But yeah, based on the topic, yeah, you got to surround yourself with people like minded like you, hard workers, people that are transparent, communicate. But you know, find some divorce attorneys, CPAs, wealth managers, advisors, people that are going to help you with your business and grow with you. Also find investors, find people that are on top of the market and just aren't part-time. And then find people also that are go-getters. You know, people that want to get stuff out there and keep moving. Real estate is a big changing, I say, part all over. Every year it's a different market and every deal is different. So you got to be on your toes and stuff. Those are my thoughts.
So, Steve, you come from a sports background because you're not that tall, as I'm led to believe. Where has sports? I think I'm up to your kneecap or your waist. So, where has sports come into play for you as a real estate professional and agent in Power Team?
Well, as far as that, I've become a sports entertainment with my niche. So I got into that. So I'm some athletes at time, ex-athletes or current athletes or guys up and coming. They trust you from your background, and then coaching little kids and being around that still, people will trust you because somebody did something common. So it's kind of evolved to that. We deal with people that are, these high figure players, athletes, but for housing, whether it's temporary housing, leasing, or permanent housing. But it's a way to network. You go to these like Vegas for all you go to combine draft. You go to these places to network and meet like professionals that are agents or wealth managers to network and get deals for housing. But yeah, a lot it has to do with it.
That's great. Yeah, I always follow you on LinkedIn with all the sports related stuff and Facebook as well. I'm going to work on my fadeaway, so when we play a little hoop, I can I could do some fadeaway shots against you. You know what I mean? Yeah, I'm a very tall 5'7", so I got to be more of a Muggsy Bogues with you, than or Allen Iverson comparatively to a taller gent that you probably played with in your past. So I appreciate you getting up this morning and being part of this. You've been a part of this since the creation a couple of years ago. Thanks for stopping by.
Right. Yep.
So some real estate investment myths I want you to think about, okay? You never know what tales you might encounter when you're beginning to research real estate investing and your power team. It's good to learn and unlearn, relearn some of the information now, right? Myth number one, you need access to significant capital to get started in real estate investing. That's not true. Number two, it's best to invest in cities. That's not true. There's some really great opportunities in suburban and rural settings right now at this point. Real estate is risky. Myth number three. Myth number four, owning rental properties is tremendously stressful. Not the case. If you have the right power team, it shouldn't be. Real estate investment strategies from investors that need to know: fix and flip investing, fix to rent investing, long-term investing. If something like that doesn't work for you, maybe you look at REITs or some type of syndication. Excuse me. You could also look at wholesaling, putting good deals together for real estate professionals and investors. So there's and then which is better for investors, long-term versus short-term rentals? I've always liked long-term rentals. Is there an opportunity of short-term rentals? There will always be vacation rentals. There might not always be short-term rental Airbnb, but there will always be vacation rentals in vacationary areas. So do vacation rentals work? Yes. Will short-term rentals always work in certain areas? No. We have a shortage of good housing rental stock for affordable housing, as well as Class B and A. Till we get caught up in that form of inventory, communities are gonna constrain short-term rentals, and they're going to be very harsh on that as well, because they want people that are going to stay, live, and be part of a community. Joseph, your outro and thoughts to our discussion this morning, real estate investors building relationships with a power team.
Joe, excellent discussion today as always, and a lot of good points made from you and the other moderators on here. There's a lot to learn from people. Don't just shrug them off, right? And or just assume that they're not into your industry if they're not doing, or talking about what it is that they do. Some people you need to pull the teeth out of. Everybody brings value regardless of their level of experience. You'll be surprised at how people who have commercial properties, which I just met this week. There's an individual who buys commercial properties in North Carolina. He says, I can underwrite a commercial property like nobody's business, but single family homes scare me. And I kind of chuckled, right? Because you're playing a bigger game, at least in my mind he was. And I said, listen, I can sit down and tell you how I evaluate all my properties, right? I'm closing on number 6. So you can help somebody regardless of their level of experience. Never think less of yourself regarding what someone says they have, because it's just a different niche, and they may not have the experience that you have. So again, build those relationships, be friendly with people, and eventually it'll come back to you, right? If you're good to people, karma will come back. If you build those relationships, it will boomerang back to you. So good luck out there to everybody.
Thanks, Joe. Number 1, familiarize yourself with a local market. Number 2, brush up on your knowledge. Number 3, avoid starting with fix and flip investing. It's not for everybody. Doing the gut to the studs is not maybe the smartest thing for you to do. Develop a thorough strategy. Don't be emotionally attached to a deal. Plan your finances carefully. Know the numbers and how to crunch them. Listen, real estate investing is an interesting endeavor. Apart from helping you generate passive income, it's a potential path to financial freedom as well. While it could look overwhelming when you're just starting out, as long as you take the time to learn, relearn, and yes, even unlearn certain things, you can find a strategy that works in your favor and start building your path to wealth. And I think the power team is so important in strategy and hitting the best goals for yourself. Closures, storage spaces, real estate mortgage notes, real estate investment trusts, land, commercial property. There's so many endeavors. And then there's layers within those layers to better understand. First, understand how to buy a rental property. Maybe buy your own home. Okay. Maybe taking some online real estate investment platform discussions and YouTube University. I know Joe loves those YouTube stuff, and I think that's important. Understanding how to do some renovations. Maybe pay a contractor to follow them for the day and see what they do. Meet them at buy the breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Meet them at Home Depot. Help them load the truck. With sheetrock and 2x4s and 2x6s. Get to the site with them. Carry some pails of nails and screws, and clean up around and just kind of be part of the process, right? What is wrong with being part of the process? Understanding right from the grassroots, sitting down with an insurance agent and understanding different types of insurance landscapes, whether it's builder's risk, whether it's stabilized, sitting down with your CPA and paying them for their time. I mean, this is where, instead of paying for a workshop, paying your power team for their time, that's going to give you valuable insight. Like, if none of you, the people that are listening below, do not have my worksheets, how are you penciling your deals? Like, if you're not emailing me for worksheets to better pencil your deals down, how are you penciling your deals down? Get it from the lender's perspective. Understand how to price your deals out. Be the smarter real estate professional. Coming to a room like this should give you, the minute you get off, you're like, okay, I need to call this person, this person, this person. Do you know every morning I think of 3 people that are in my phone database, and I call them just to see how they're doing. How are things going? Is there something I can help them with? Right? Everybody needs a little assistance in one thing or another at one time or another. There's no doubt. I get check-in calls too. Hey, Joe, how are you doing? How you holding up? What's going on? Is there anything I can help you with? right? So, the emotional attachment of a power team is extremely important. So I want to thank everybody for their engagement this morning. I want to thank everybody on our podcast, our sponsors such as Percatech, Realty 411, MB Capital, Abstract National, and Lenmark. Without this support, we wouldn't be where we need to be from the education that we're providing, the networking, creating the opportunities, the live events that we're having, the CE now accredited courses, the worksheets, the work from as real estate professionals, and our podcast at creativebirdstrategies.com. My quote this morning, and to think about, success is not luck, it's built. I'll see you tomorrow morning at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time here on the Creative Bird Strategy room and podcast. And everybody have a great Saturday morning. I'll be ending the room in the next 30 seconds.